Tracking historic Hilary and its impacts throughout California. I'm ABC 10 Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods out of the capital city of California. So right now, the main impacts felt mainly in Southern California. Look at this video out of Death Valley with the runoff coming down the hill. Just really that terrain not able to hold a tremendous amount of rain that's been falling, at least for California, and especially for this time of year. So the key highlights here, right now it is a tropical storm, once a hurricane. We were tracking this since last week, kind of looking at the projected path as it continued to move its way northward, becoming more and more likely that it would indeed be hitting California. Southern California seeing the worst of it tonight with the flood risk very high. We'll take a look at some of those warnings that are out right now. Northern California seeing that wind shift for tonight, the rain for tomorrow, and even the chance for some thunderstorms. Throughout the day, we've been following the path, moving its way over the Mexican-California border, moving north right now at about 23 miles per hour. And it's just all the bands of rain surrounding that counterclockwise circulation. You can see it's very evident here on our radar as that's moving its way northward, kind of wrapping around with Los Angeles getting some pretty heavy rain. Up and down the coast, we've seen multiple flights canceled or at least delayed. Many airlines just saying, no, we're not even going to chance it because we know the kind of the snowball effect that happens throughout the course of the day. Once we see one delay or cancellation, many others will follow. So most of the effects have been because of rain, a couple of isolated thunderstorms embedded in the storm as it's moved its way inland. Palm Springs getting particularly hard hit. The terrain just really isn't able to hold any of that rain. Closing in on almost 3 inches of rain at this hour just since midnight, about 2+ inches for Edwards Air Force Base, Lancaster over 2 inches, still climbing for Los Angeles at 1.44, Burbank at 1.83, Carlsbad just north of San Diego, there along the coast, 1.45 inches of rain. Now, looking at the 5 p.m., as of 5 p.m., numbers. Palm Springs, these are the records, 2.64. Obviously, those numbers are going up right now. Thermal, 2.32 inches. Again, all of these are records. Los Angeles, downtown, 1.53. Riverside, over an inch of rain. And San Diego, nearly an inch of rain. Some areas where we're expecting to see upwards of about a whole year's worth of rain. Now, our own Andy Judson, ABC 10 reporter down in Palm Springs, showing us how the runoff is happening here, going over some of the roadways, making it very difficult to navigate. Turn around, don't drown. You can see what's happening here. This is a road right here, and the water just rushing over it, kind of going, again, from the highest elevations to the lowest elevations. Caltrans out all day trying to clean up messes like this. This is near Palmdale. The roadway issues remain. You get those slides happening, and this goes right into some of the interstates and the local roadways. So again, working hard to get those cleaned out, make sure everybody can travel safely. Lots of cars on the roadways in California. It's a big mode of transportation out here. In terms of total accumulated rainfall, what we'll see here is how those color contours really filling in throughout the course of tonight into tomorrow and moving its way eastward. Now, that's going to be a really big point, is that as the storm starts to move its way through California, it then takes a trajectory that pushes it a little bit over towards the east. So the storm timeline for Southern California, the main event is actually happening right now and almost winding down over the next about 6 hours. The remnants move out tomorrow morning. Tropical storm threats are over by noontime. We'll see some developing mix of sun and clouds, and the cleanup not only beginning but continuing throughout the day on Monday. Now, on top of all of that, I have to mention that we had an earthquake as well earlier this afternoon. So Southern California dealing with multiple emergency situations. This particular earthquake didn't happen to do a whole lot of damage, but alerts went out, the shake alert, and many people said, are you kidding me? We've got flash flood watches. We've got this earthquake now. And so it is critically important in this time to receive those emergency notifications. You can certainly watch television, listen to the radio. Also, get wireless alerts through your local emergency alert system. You want to download your county alert system, and that will get it on your phone. The shake alert as well, you can get that on your phone. Internet is a good place, social media and websites. A NOAA weather radio is a great tool to have, especially when some of those other places aren't available. And then also contact family and friends. Let them know where you are. If you're trying to get out of places that might be dealing with some flooding or the potential for flooding, just say, here's my path. This is where I'm going. This is how you can find me. So another way to make sure you stay safe. The biggest risk for excessive rainfall is, in fact, today through early tomorrow morning. That's going to be in this zone 4 right here with the highest risk, and that's what we've been seeing. But it does extend upwards into the eastern part of the state and just into a touch of Nevada. So Las Vegas people are preparing for the potential for some flooding there as well, because we're still in that moderate risk right here. As you can see how the path is kind of going. Now, through the day tomorrow, that risk starts to shift its way northward. But what you'll see is a lot less moderate to high risk of flooding, as this storm system doesn't have much to feed off of. It really feeds off of warm water. It already started to rapidly decrease in intensity as it started to move into the colder California coastal waters, going out of 80-plus degree temperature water here in parts of Mexico and moving its way northward into mid-60s, upper 60s by the time it got to Southern California. There's the path right there, and we still have that tropical storm warning in effect. We'll continue to track this throughout tonight, but by tonight, it holds about 40-mile-per-hour winds, and then will become an extratropical low by tomorrow morning. Winds will be down to about 30 miles per hour. Now, that's not to say that we still won't get a whole lot of rain, a whole lot of wind coming from this storm into tomorrow and even into Tuesday as well. Tropical storm warning still in effect for Southern California, at least at this hour. Flash flood warning also in effect. We talked about the record rain falling in parts of Southern California. Flood warning in effect just south of Palm Springs over towards Calexico and right on the border there of Mexico and California. Moving our way northward as we expand the view, you can see the flood watch in effect. And for a time, we had some red flag warnings in effect. Now just those highlighted pink areas, just kind of the dynamics of what's happening across the West Coast. High wind warning in effect as that storm system continues to roll its way up to the north and east. We'll find the winds becoming particularly dangerous. So as it moves its way north, here are a few of the impacts that we'll be following for tomorrow. Humidity will be much higher, feeling tropical, not something we usually deal with in Northern California, particularly in the summer. Rain chances increase, especially on the east side of the state. It's going to be a bit drier on the west side of the state. Not to say that we won't get a few sprinkles here and there and an occasional heavy downpour. But as far as the widespread rain, it's going to be on the east side of the state. Winds are going to be northerly this evening, becoming southerly by tomorrow morning. And you can see by tomorrow morning, very early in the morning, about 4 a.m., how those winds start to increase. That just indicates the rotation is starting to move a little bit closer to us. Again, it's just off to the east, and we'll see those southeast winds at about 30 miles per hour. Then our wind direction starts to return to a more typical wind direction for Northern California during the day. It's more out of the southwest here as we watch that storm system move its way and have less impacts in our region. However, as we start to see some of the tropical tropical features interact with us, it's going to add some instability, and that is going to increase not only our chances for rainfall, but chances for thunderstorms as well. About a half an inch to an inch in the high country, less than a tenth of an inch on the west side of the state, and about a tenth of an inch to a third of an inch for parts of the valley. But it's going to be really isolated. It's really interesting how this storm system starts to play out with the rainfall. I mentioned the thunderstorms, so you can see it's pretty much through central California all the way through the northern part of the state, and then extending its way over towards portions of Nevada. Also, Arizona could see some isolated thunderstorms and possible small tornadoes. We'll be watching out for that. This is what it was doing. Look at this, Salton City, California. Look at the hail just pounding Salton City. This is just a little bit of a distance away from Palm Springs, not too far, but that was just some of what Hilary was delivering in terms of severe weather. And I mentioned there was a couple of thunderstorm warnings out earlier today. Here's a look at the radar. Progressing it through the course of the evening into early tomorrow morning for Northern California. Most of the rain for the morning commute will be on the east side of the valley and through the foothills. Some spotty showers, nothing too much to really dampen the morning commute. Then we get the instability, a little daytime heating, and the thunderstorms start to pop up, particularly through the San Joaquin Valley, parts of the Mother Lode, and then that expands through that 80-50 corridor right here, Auburn to Placerville. We had that mosquito fire in Forest Hill last year. Just watching for some burn scars. It doesn't look like this is really going to hold together too long to give us that elevated risk of huge mud flows and debris flows. Given that we have so many burn scars in Northern California, we'll have to watch it. If one cell just kind of sits over a particular area, that could indeed cause a slide. About a tenth of an inch or so by the time we get to the early afternoon. Once those thunderstorms start to develop, will increase the amount of rain. And places like Manteca, about a third of an inch. For Pollock Pines, over half an inch, and could see some isolated areas closer to about an inch or so. This storm system really doing a number, though. Hilary, as it tracks its way northward, will give a likely wetter scenario through the end of August through parts of the Pacific Northwest and the Intermountain West as well. Kind of an interesting dynamic happening there. Chance of thunderstorms lingers for the mountains through Tuesday. As far as the foothills, we'll see that chance of thunderstorms tomorrow and then drying by the end of the week. For the coast, it's going to be a mix of sun and clouds, mostly dry, though. This is going to be a real struggle to really get those thunderstorms and the rain falling on the west side of the state. So rain tomorrow for the valley. Highs are in the 80s. Quick climb back up to about 100 by Thursday, and then falling again by the upcoming weekend, putting us back to about average. So a little bit warmer than average here for the middle and end of our work week before we get back to some of that drier weather. Well, thank you so much for watching this particular video on our ABC 10 channel on YouTube. You can also watch our whole weather playlist. We've got in-depth forecasts, also weather specials like mega flood and water wasted, plus the latest on Hurricane Hilary on ABC 10 Plus. It's available on many of the smart TVs, as well as Apple TV, Roku, and Fire TV. You can always get those updated forecasts and watch live broadcasts as well. Hope you have a good rest of the evening.